The man behind All Valley Powder Coating in Phoenix, Arizona is all about the numbers. We'll find out how he turned struggle into triumph to get triple return on company growth with some head-turning strategies. He says the key to success lies in knowing your labor rate, rent, insurance, powder, utilities, employees, and more. That is, how much does it cost you to operate? And he's got that down to the minute. See how he costs out jobs, take a tour of his shop, and find out how to put extra cash in the bank when you implement his 3 cash collecting policies. We're making the most out of workflow in the next Powder Coater podcast. Get ready to level up your Powder Coater game.
Welcome to Roscoe's Powder Coater podcast. I'm your host, Kim Scott. How do you make workflow equal cash flow? Today, we welcome a guy who started coding to supplement his income. The end. Happily ever after. Sounds lovely, right? Nope. Here's what really happened. The business failed with partners leaving left and right. The pressure of managing the biz led to some health issues for him with all the stress and handling employees. Now, he feels like he's got a good grasp on things, coming from different industries and having developed a lot of processes and, of course, learning a lot of lessons. Let's find out what happened. Let's find out how and why he did get back into the game and grow 150% gross each year over the last 4 years. Welcome to the show, Paul Foster from AVP Coatings out of Arizona. How you doing, Paul?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good. So before we get into your story, I want to talk about a little bit about some more of what we're going to talk about today so that we can really get everybody primed. A couple weeks ago, we did a show discussing, we had Detective Coatings on, and Justin Money on he's using a program that helps him manage and visually see all of the jobs coming in. Shout out to Vibrant Coatings. He tagged us in his Instagram today, saying he's trying out the program and stuff. So that's really cool. We've affected some coder out there, and I just had that saw that right before we hopped on this call today. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Vibrant Coatings. I'm hoping they're enjoying that. It did seem like a really nice program, and maybe we can help some more guys out there that are really ready for that. Yep. But now we're going to talk about the lessons you learned, the troubles and trials and tribulations you went through, and then how, you created these processes within your shop, your workflow, in order to, get to a better cash flow, because that's really, what are we all in it for, right?
For the love, right?
It's just for the love. It's just for the love, right?
Because you like dealing with people to tell you how to do your job.
And whiny customers, and why do you charge $80 a rim when I can get it for $50 or something like that, right? So let's get on. Let's move on from there and tell me about your story. Let's get down to the nitty gritty, because I just gave just a summary of what happened.
So we're starting at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So again, first business partner was a friend for years prior. It was a 50-50 split. And we're going to do the summarized version of all these, because this is over probably 5 years. And again, it picked up pretty quick right off the bat. we did the normal thing, advertised. Back then it was Yelp, no Google words back then. And we were just in a good industrial spot. There was businesses all around, machine shops, car shops, and we were both car enthusiasts. Actually, let me backtrack. So a year before we shook hands and said, let's do this, we did it out of his garage, all of our own stuff for our own cars, before we realized, hey, we could probably make some money at this, and found a bigger oven. We were literally using a household oven that we got for free off Craigslist. I had a $60 Craftsman powder coat gun from Sears.
Oh, really? Sears?
Yeah, that I had bought 3 years prior because I was like, oh, this looks like it could be fun. And it sat in a closet for 3 years before I ever, even knew what powder coating was, honestly. But yeah, so then fast forward, we shook hands, found a location, shared it with someone else, which is also always another problem when you're sharing space with another business. But that wasn't too big of an issue. It was just one of those things like, make sure your cars that you're working on are covered because powder and media gets everywhere. And it's attracted to metal, go figure. So yeah, after say probably a year and a half, we were kind of in like a dead zone. He needed to quit his full-time job. I was there full-time and then some. And again, it was a 50-50 split. So in my eyes, here I am doing most of the work. And yeah, 50% of profits, which were very minimal back then, wasn't worth it. So rather than lose a friend, I just said, I'd rather have you as a friend than, ruin a friendship over a business. I'm out. I'll go find something else to do. And literally at a car meet that week, another friend of mine was like, yeah, I really want to start an automotive shop, but it's hard to get a business up and going. I'm like, no, it's not. Super easy. Like I can help you if you want. And literally like the week after all the paperwork was done, he went shopping and then called me out of the blue and was like, hey, I got a shop. I need a service rider. Do you want to come, help me out? I'm like, yeah, sure. I could, again, was never like certified back then in automotive. But I've wrenched ever since I was a kid. So I was helping him out. And again, probably within a month for sure, get a phone call from my friend. Apology. Sorry, I didn't realize like what was really going on here. Cause again, he had a full-time job. So
right.
He thinks I'm there for 8. I was really there for 10, 12 sometimes hours a day, 7 days a week.
Right.
And
never mind the learning curve of powder coating and all of that.
Yeah, exactly. And even though we had done it a year out of our house prior to that, it was, it's never ending. My favorite saying is, as scientific as a process as it is, there is no exact science to it whatsoever. Every day is a new adventure with powder coating.
Yeah, I actually prefer to call it alchemy, really, because
for sure.
It because of that volatility with it. I mean,
yeah. But yeah, so as he called, apologized, we kind of made amends because I pretty much just left. I'm like, hey, it's all you. Don't worry about nothing. I'm out. I'm gonna go do something else. Then he called me like a week later. He's like, you know anyone that would want to buy it? Would you want to buy it? And I'm like, I'm kind of started, the shop that we were at, we did a lot of German performance stuff and I was kind of picking up. So I was like, no, I'm kind of happy over here. This is going to be fun. And one of our customers, retired military, just kind of had money to throw around. Saw my car, asked about powder coating. And then as I got to know him a little more, I was like, hey, would you be interested in, we'll partner up, we'll bring everything over here to this shop because we have plenty of room in the automotive shop. And then in my eyes, I was thinking, I could double dip, I'm selling jobs, we're doing builds. And while you're here, you can get your stuff coated all at the same time. Win-win.
It is. Sounds like it.
Yeah, so I was doing that and the owner was totally cool with it. It was basically, I worked let's say, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And that was the automotive shop hours. And I was very good at, like, I did not go in that corner of the shop with the powder stuff at all during those hours. I just worked on cars. And then after hours, I'd punch out, lock the doors, start powder coating for another 3 or 4 hours a day. And then again, anything I sold through the shop or any people that called me directly and wanted something powder coating, I kept the profits from. Anything the other guy brought in, he kept his profits from. And it was really great because then, he'd make like a quick $5,000 off powder coating and then disappear for 3 weeks. And so when his repeat customer called back and say, "Hey, are you going to come do this?" "Oh, no, you could do it. Keep the money." So it was great. Like I was, again, double dipping, almost triple dipping. But then, we kind of outgrew it pretty quick. The automotive shop was also outgrowing. And we kept kind of butting heads. He wanted to just go crazy, get loans. And I'm like, no, if we save up enough cash, like I've been saving a decent amount of money. Like, where's your money? Like, let's just go put cash on it. Like, we don't need to finance anything. We should have money. I got money. Couldn't work. And then automotive shop was a husband and wife owned. So that kind of went south. So, yeah. It wasn't one of those lucky ones where, everyone's happy all the time. And there was iPhones being thrown across the shop at all times of the day. And so it was just
wasn't like me and Ross just yelling at each other and then next 5 minutes, "Oh, honey, you want some lunch?"
There was days like that for sure. But yeah, some more times than not, there was things being thrown left and right. And I was like, again, I'm out. Like I didn't need that in my life. We had we were just about to have our second child. So I was like, but again, I just walked away. I have no problem walking away from bad situations. So I just left. And then again, phone call after phone call from customers who had my cell phone number, or they'd find me somehow, some way. And just yelling, cussing.
Just couldn't let it go, right?
Yeah,
they couldn't let it go.
Meanwhile, what was really hilarious scenario out of the whole thing. So my wife was on maternity leave for 3 months. And like, I'll never forget that Monday morning, her first day back to work. I just made a joke. I was like, yeah, well, now I'm going to take 3 months maternity leave. Since you got yours, I'm going to get mine. And I literally got in the car. Like, she left, took the kids to daycare. I get my car to go back to the shop, dreading it. I get a text saying, "Hey, we can't give you your paycheck this week," from the automotive shop.
What?
And what was funny, it was like, I usually wrote my own paycheck because I kind of managed the shop. And I didn't take one that Friday because I knew there was like stuff had to clear. It was kind of a tight week. We had a lot of big builds and just money out there. I was like, I could wait till Monday. Again, I got powder coating is paying me too. My wife worked. We were okay. And that was just like the final nail in the coffin. I was just like, how about you just text me when you want me to come in? Because also that weekend, I was arguing with the other business partner about growth and everything like that. So I was just kind of spent. I'm like, so I went, got the kids from daycare and took my 3-month maternity leave. And again, customers calling me, they wanted me to do their parts. They were yelling at me why their parts weren't done. I was like, hey, I'm out. I have nothing to do with it. Called Jason. It's all on him. And so after about 3 months, I was like, man, I should really, Cerakote was good money. I just started doing Cerakote at the other shop, lots of headers. I was like, I could probably get away with doing air cure in my garage.
Right.
Like, I got a compressor. I can set up a little box fan booth out the side door and go to town. So I did that, but also the other guy was moving out of town. And, he wanted like 30 grand or maybe 20, thousands of dollars anyways. Wasn't worth it in my eyes. We originally paid $5 grand for the equipment. We upgraded some things. We had a better gun, obviously.
Why would he offer it to, I don't know. That just seems, yeah.
Because it had the quote unquote was a running, working business with clientele. Unfortunately, all the clientele was pissed off.
Right.
So I told him flat out, I'm like, I don't want anything to do with that name anymore. It used to be called Phoenix Powder Coating with a K, which always bugged me. I hate misspelled words like that. So I was just like, I don't want anything to do with it. So it came down to, I flat out just kept lowballing him. Had him down to, I think, like 3,500. And then when he finally went for it, I told him, sorry, Jason, I know you're going to watch this. This is a great story though. $3,500 for all the equipment. It was kind of run down, beat up, wasn't taken care of. And then he finally called and was like, okay, let's do it. I'm like, I went down there and I looked at it. It's only worth $2,000 for me. That's the stop button. Let me turn it off. So of course, geez, we're closed, people. So yeah, I went there. I think he just hung up on me flat out. He was like, screw you, you're crazy. The day before he had to leave to go to Virginia, I called him one more time, like, hey, we could take that $2,000. He's like, no. Okay, are you paying rent at Jay's shop? No. And mind you, I was on good terms with the automotive shop, even though we had parted ways.
Right.
They're still good friends to this day. But I was like, okay, then don't worry about it. And well, what does that mean? Do you really think, he didn't want anything to do with powder coating? I'm like, do you really think they're just going to let that equipment sit there? Like, you're going to Virginia tomorrow. I'll be there tomorrow with a truck to pick it all up for free. Like, take it or leave it. So I ended up meeting him down there, gave him $2,000 for the equipment, and somehow swindled a $500 Audi A4 out of it as well.
Oh my goodness.
That was his at the shop. So that was the last partner I ever had and ever will have.
So you've now commandeered the equipment, but you're still in the same shop with the automotive guys?
No. So we pulled that out and took it home. And so just started working out of the house for a bit. And then that was fun for a while, but it's really hard to work from home and separate your home and work life.
Yeah, it can be.
And then also
kids.
In between that, I think before we did the final deal, I had started another job, managing another shop up north. And so now I'm doing that full time, going home, working a little more. So again, just super burning the candle at both ends.
Yeah.
It's probably year 5 or 6 by now. And then I kept trying to quit the automotive shop because I got the powder. I had a few good, decent contracts, like medical contracts, aerospace, just doing it out of home, out of a 5x4x4 oven.
Right.
And I pumped a lot of work out of that little tiny oven. And actually, if you go to my Facebook page and scroll all the way to the bottom, that was all out of the house. It was pretty impressive looking back on that. But
do what you got to do, right?
So every time I tried to quit the automotive shop and go full-time powder, the guy kept throwing more money at me. He didn't want me to go anywhere. I stayed where the money was, what was stable. I knew I was going to get a paycheck every week.
Right. And
then finally, powder side hustle outweighed full-time employment. I was like, listen, I really got to go this time. Like, this is the 4th time I'm telling you I quit. I mean it. Said okay. And then the next day I go back and he's like, hey, the unit next door is available. I'll pay rent, move your equipment here. You can come and go as you please all day long. So again, and he threw more money at me. So I didn't have him pay rent. I was like, that's just weird. Now I'm in your pocket, right? And
yeah,
we're not agreeing on a partnership, but now I'm going to be in another situation. So I was like, whatever, I could pay my own rent as long as you're 100% cool with, if I got to go over there and deal with people, I can walk away here. You're fine. He was fine. So I did that for 2 years. And in that 2 years, it grew. I had 2 ovens, 7 by 7 by 10,
Good
and
size.
the 5 by 4 by 4. And I pretty much did everything. I was shooting from the hip on pricing. Occasionally I call other powder coaters. What do you do a cage for? $280. I was subbing out my sandblasting, so that didn't make too much sense for me. But that's what other people charge, so that's what I charge. Terrible way to do business and not make money. So after those 2 years, again, burning the candle at both ends, I'm probably working. I finally decided Sundays were my day off for the family. So I was working 6 days a week, typically 5 a.m. to midnight-ish every day for 2 years. Yeah. Even with employees, again, we had, I think 4 guys at the automotive shop and 4 to 6 at the powder shop. But I was still, we did a lot of volume. It was kind of crazy. And I never really paid attention to the money that it made while I was up there. Cause again, burning a candle at both ends, money's coming in from almost every direction. I was happy.
Right.
But again, like you said, the health issues, stomach ulcers, I'm sure we've all seen blood come out of places it shouldn't from time to time.
Yeah,
Owning a
no,
business.
ulcers are serious business,
Yeah. So again, I'm like, hey, I'm quitting for real this time. No ifs, ands, or buts. I got to go in a week. And my wife was definitely on my case. Like, she's like, we can't do this anymore. You kind of need to be here for your kids, for me. And then also this was our 3rd child was on the way, or might have been just came. So, then the problem became finding a space to rent in Phoenix was brutal. Everything was going up. I pretty much I had to sign a lease almost a year before mine expired to get in.
Really?
Anywhere. Yeah.
So the vacancy rate was very, very low.
Very low. It was, so I couldn't find anything. And again, I didn't want to go too big. I wanted to downsize. So I was going to get rid of the big oven. I had a 6-foot cube oven made, by one of my customers, which is great, dealing with fabricators all day long. Hey, build me anything. And even crazier, he built it in 2 days from nothing.
Wow.
My 6-foot cube oven. And it was only $2,500.
Wow, that's great.
Parts and labor. It was great.
Wow.
So yeah, there's a lesson learned there. Take care of your customers, they will take care of you.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do.
But yeah, so a place that we had looked at the guy ended up folding on it, but I still had 7 months on my lease. But again, there was nothing else in sight anywhere. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to pay 2 rents, I guess, until I'm out of here. So I finally quit the automotive stuff, but unfortunately I was still 2 bays over. So everyone would come over and ask questions about, cars that have been worked on. It's like, man, I quit. I'm done. Stop. So it got to a point where I had to lock myself in that shop. So no one, they're banging on the door, not answering.
Wow.
And then, they'd come over and complain about their new boss and how great I was, which, makes me feel good, but I don't want to hear it. I had work to do.
Yeah. It's hard to stay focused.
And then when I finally started dialing it in, and stopped with the whole price matching nonsense, again, it kind of went back to automotive where, there's a shop labor rate. Shops here now, they're like $140 an hour to get your car worked on. Dealerships are over $200 an hour. But then it got me thinking, that's automotive side, but any skilled labor has a labor rate. Like even your, landscapers charge by the hour, contractors charge by the hour. How come powder coaters don't? They shoot from the hip and think they're either going to make it or not. And that's that.
Yeah. This is an interesting concept that you're bringing up because we've talked about pricing on the show before, where Terry, I think it was episode 5, he was like, you have to know your costs and your overhead, you have to know how much things cost. What is it costing you to order that powder? What is it costing you for the electricity, for the rent, for the office supplies, whatever? You have to enumerate all of that stuff. But we didn't really drill down to what you're talking about, which is where you're saying you're coming from, is this automotive side where they deal with this all the time. Why aren't powder coaters doing this? And, I'm going to bring it. My husband came, we never drive in together, right? We always drive two separate cars, and our neighbors are always like, why do you guys drive in separate cars? You're going home, Yeah. And I'm like, you have no idea why. It's called peace of mind. I work with the guy all day long. I can drive home by myself.
Well, my wife and I did that too. My wife and I did that too. It was like, I'm going to go early. And she came in a little later and just ran the front when she was working here. And then she would leave, or I would leave early to go get the kids, or vice versa, depending on what was going on. But yeah, it's needed sometimes.
Mm-hmm. And, we got this client he'd been messaging me on Instagram and, showing me parts of the truck that he wants powder coated, but, you're looking underneath the truck and I can't see the part in and of itself, until you bring it in and stuff. And all week, Ross has been shooting himself in the foot on underbidding. And it's funny because what I came to the conclusion with last night was he's really good with, somebody sends him a schematic with a gate or a railing, and the guy can nail it, right?
I'm terrible at that.
He's really good at it. He can figure that stuff out easy peasy. But when it comes to someone in his shop coming with their parts and this and that, whatever it is, motorcycles, automotive, truck lifts, he gets, when he meets the person face to face, I don't know if he just feels sorry for them or if it's like, this guy needs help, or, maybe it's a guy thing. I don't know. But so we're in the car, so he goes, well, you're going to have to pay up front for the order on the prismatic illusion blue we were talking about earlier. And so he goes, go ahead and order 5 pounds. I said, okay. So, I'm collecting money from him while I'm ordering the illusion blue at the same time.
Yeah.
And, I'm charging my retail rate, with shipping, plus a little markup for myself. And, the kid isn't saying anything, but I'm charging him some good chunk of cash up front, and then on the drive home, I said, how much are you charging for that job? And then of course the powder cost us half of what he priced the job out for. I basically
brutal.
He's like, well, we're just basically lost money on that. I'm like, no, we didn't, because you didn't do your own. I said, it's funny, you come up with these formulas and these things, and then yet you don't follow any of the rules the minute someone comes down to the shop. And I said, I'm better off bidding the job myself than to rely on you to go and meet the customer to do it, because I'm following the formula that we have set up. And I would have, and I calculated, I would have charged with the special order, I think I would have charged 3 times as much as he, 2 to 3 times as much.
Yeah.
Because of the special order powder, and it's a 2-coat system, so by the time by the time you're done, well, it's a dormant, so it's like, needs a clear coat. And why is it that the rules don't apply to him? He's ignoring his own rules. So again, we're still dealing with pricing issues, and I've had it.
Yeah.
I've really had it.
So funny you bring all that up, because we literally had the exact same scenario in our shop today. So
Good. I'm not the only one.
So another weird thing I do every year, we close for I close right before Christmas, depending on where it falls. This last year we closed for two full weeks.
Yeah, I saw your post on Instagram.
16 days or something like that. But which is the longest I've ever closed, and surprisingly the least anyone's complained about it. But over that time I kind of do like a self audit and make sure, like, so when January comes around, I can roll out an email saying, hey, here's the changes we're going to make. Sorry, deal with it or go somewhere else.
Best time to change prices.
So one of the things was going through invoices, like a lot of the public people were paying, about the same, maybe a little more than like our wholesale that are here once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week. To me, that's not right. Again, coming from automotive guys always get 20% less than, Joe Blow off the street grabbing parts or whatever.
Right.
So I raised our biggest change I made was our minimum for the public was bumped from $65 to $150.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I did that was going through, again, like I typically don't deal with the shop cell phone too much. I try to stay away from that because I've been the rules just like Ross does.
Yep.
And it's bad. And especially, customers that have been here for 13 years, like, hey, you helped me make me who I am. I cut brakes all the time.
I know.
Terrible for
terrible.
business.
Bad.
But so our minimum's 150. Well, some nice old man came in today, and when he was met with the price, he kind of almost had a heart attack. And so Matt felt sympathy for him and knocked it down to, I don't know, 80 or 100. It's not a lot of parts, but the problem is, public is typically 2.5 weeks out. We try to keep all of our regular business. Again, that's my main business model is small businesses, parts manufacturers, things like that. We try to keep them at a week guaranteed turnaround. And if they want anything sooner, they could pay extra to expedite it. But yeah, that was pretty, like, we literally just had to talk a couple days ago. Like, This is the minimum. Like, we got signage. It's on an email. It's on their invoices. It's on the, we have paperwork similar to what you showed. It's on there in writing. Like, it's straightforward. And, those are the business rules. So either deal with it or sadly go find someone that doesn't have a minimum. I don't doesn't bother me that much.
Yeah, I think that you can have multiple formulas for equating jobs. Okay. I'm not saying you must go, you must follow. I'm just saying that when you've got someone bringing you a new part out of the box is obviously going to be a little different than somebody bringing you a rusty old part from underneath a truck. Where he's, and I'm, pardon me for judgment, but like the guy's lifting his truck. He says it's not a show truck. Okay. But then, guys they got this, there's the show truck guys, and then there's the guys that just want a nice truck or do something for themselves, to feel special or whatever. And, Jesus, he was out there for like 30 minutes just trying to decide on color. We've got all the colors, Columbia, Prismatic, Tiger Drylac, and 30 minutes to pick a color, and it's the same color he told me about he wanted in the email. So, okay, I can, so you're thinking about all the time you spent just talking to the dude. And then you're looking at his parts, and the thing was super rusted. I mean, like, we're talking like, we're talking like grade C, grade D rust. That is the rustiest rust you can have. Okay, guys, I'm not going to get my little cheat sheet out there, but I love the Jeff Taylor sent me this. I got to show it because I would love to get more people to see the thing. So hold on just a minute. I'm going to go run over and get it because I'm trying to make my point.
Yeah.
I love this thing. I got it from Jeff Taylor. He was featured in episode 14 and 15. He was so good, I had him come back again. But you know, this little handy thing tells you about, like, and it's hard because you're seeing it in reverse, but
yeah,
it says grade A. Okay, there's virtually no rust on this picture. I mean, just tiny little bit right there. Okay, this is how the industry enumerates or develops they need to have a speck of rust. So you need to understand what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah, makes sense.
And now, yeah, so this is grade B. Now, when they're because they're selling sandblasting equipment, they came up with what a white metal or a NACE 5, which is a rating. It's called, NACE 1. This is what you're going for. So when someone brings you something like this is what it should look like when you're done blasting it.
Yeah.
So there's different grades, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, you get down to like grade C rust, which everybody's seen this. And then of course, you know, now it's getting a little pitty. So you can kind of see what it would look like when you're done blasting it. And of course, my favorite is grade D, where it's like super pitted and rusted already. And of course, you're starting to see the metal and what it's going to look like. And of course, when you're trying to visualize,
you know, when they bring that one in right there, they want gloss black.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, exactly. And you know, I love showing people this because it helps them, you know, realize that when they do pick up, you know, gloss black or whatever, that you're still going to see these bumps in there. I'm not going to fill it. I'm not going to go to a body shop for that. But, you know, so last night I was having this, you know, of course he's mad at me for, I don't know what, for, I don't know. So he's just mad at me. Maybe because I brought up his flaw in thinking, probably.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking, okay, what if you could have a formula for the nice stuff, and then you've got the restoration formula, and what if you could vary it that when you do have a grade level as bad as C or D, you know you're going to spend more time on that.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter how many parts fit in the oven. Okay, this is not, you know. You obviously can look at the parts in the back of the guy's truck and know it all fits in your smallest oven, or your, you know, your middle size oven or your large oven or whatever the oven size is. And then we've talked about batch pricing, you know, and stuff, but there's still like this extra level of effort you have to put into, not just if he's picking an Illusion or a Dorman or a 2-coat, 3-coat system. There's got to be a price variable. Then you've got this pricing, you know, that you have to go in special order this color from Prismatic or Columbia on top of all of that, you know?
Yeah.
And let me tell you, I've looked at some of these, the pricing on powder is going up.
First time it got me. So I don't charge for powder. I just order it. It comes, spray the parts, and that's that. But one time I was on vacation, somebody, you know, wasn't notified that we needed a certain color. And it was just one color, only Powder by the Pound sells it. I called the order and it was $38 a pound.
Yeah.
Like, no, that's the wrong one. It's $18.99. No, the Starlight Blue, $38 a pound. So whatever, you know, I needed it, 6 pounds. I'll deal with it later. Get back from vacation. I start going through, you know, the actual invoices and charges. And I was like, last time I paid attention, I think he just told me like how much it was. And I was like, whoa, wait, why is it so much? Normally I'm just like, charge the card, goodbye. I got to get back to work. You know, they typically don't say, you know, your total charge is going to be this much. And sure enough, over like a 3-year period, I went from $18.99 to to 38. And I was like, and again, that's another one. I'm like, wow, I didn't compensate for that in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
I'm still charging $5 a sign for for this.
Yeah. We used to have different ratings, or not ratings, but different rates for powder. Like the RALs were typically cheaper than, and the industrial colors were typically cheaper than some of the illusions and transparents that, some other, then you've got the whole shipping thing. But, I don't know if everybody's got to know this. The powder prices are going up and they're not going to stop.
Yeah.
Not for right now, until the economy stabilizes. As it is now, they're just hiding there. And it's not so much, some of it is just supply disruption, but other parts of it is shipping rates themselves are going up.
Yeah.
And the availability or inavailability of powder. And so what my point is that they're kind of hiding, they're kind of shoving it under the rug. They're hiding it's easier for these large companies to hide their shipping rates in the price of powder than to directly charge you more for shipping.
Yeah.
Because when they do, it's going to destabilize your point of view about ordering powder from them.
Yeah.
So it's easier for you to digest a higher powder price because you need that color for that customer.
Yeah.
Than it is for you to see a differential in
especially even though Prismatic's kind of pricey, but $12 for overnight all day long.
Yeah, this is what seriously like this is what's giving them such a leading edge in that sense, but I don't, I didn't mean to kind of go off on such a divergentness of like pricing, but it is really, especially powder pricing, it is directly related to what we're talking about today. It probably took a little bit of a meander down that pathway a little too far, but I do want to come back to processes and workflow because that's really what we're here to talk about and how your system or your specific way is helping you with better cash flow, because we all know that we can't solve our formula, our estimating tomorrow, right? It's going to have, it's just one of those ever things,
and so, back on topic. So the reason I upped the price for minimum batch for the public is just like you said, you spend a half hour with them, picking a color out, holding their hand, trying to figure this and that and the other out. And my business guys, they come in, they fill out their paper, they're like black and they're gone. So there's no need to charge them $150 because they're not wasting my time. But now this other guy is probably going to text 3 more times just to check in and see if it's done yet. And it's like, no, this is the day we said it would be done. And no news is good news. We're still on track.
Right.
So I went through, again, over the 2-week break, I went through all the text messages on the phone, and I'm just like, some of these jobs, I'm like, holy cow, we just in text messages, let alone, 20-minute phone call, trying to figure, oh, you need more powder, or this needs to be masked off, or, whatever. So and then the other thing I started this year as well was I'm going to alternate public and business and just bump the price up 3% every year to account for exactly what you're talking about. The supplies just keep going up. I get these emails from Axo Nobel and Tiger. Hey, prices are going up. Cool. I guess mine are too. So I raised all my prices last year across the board. And some of them, again, I've had customers for 13 years. They have been paying the same price for 13 years. And, a bottle of Cerakote, a quart is not $80 anymore.
No, not at all.
Everyone was cool with it. We just put it into a
lasts 5 minutes on the shelf.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I got a couple people ask why is it going up so much, and I just gave them the explanation. Hey, we're masking them this way now. It's a little different, but it'll be easier for both of us to handle the part after the fact.
Right.
Things like that, and everyone was totally understanding. I don't think I lost a single customer from it.
Mm-hmm.
If I did, I haven't noticed.
So you're defining your customer as you're calling. How are you describing these customers? The guys with the lower rate versus the guys with the higher rate. You're calling them different types of customers.
Yeah, so
types.
like wholesale.
Wholesale.
Yeah, so
okay.
wholesale and retail.
And retail.
So example, I have a few friends that have like wheel repair only shops. So obviously you can bring your car there as an individual, drop your car off, have the wheels done, but they also go to the dealerships and pick up, 12 sets of wheels at a time.
Right.
So obviously the people who bring you more consistent work week after week, one,
You're
they kind of
willing
deserve a price break.
Yeah.
Um,
That's the American way,
But again, I also have a wholesale labor rate and a retail labor rate. So let's get into that.
Yeah, I do want to. Are you going to share your screen? Or what are we doing?
It's not really. So again, let me see. I have never used Zoom before.
So you see the little dashboard when you put your cursor.
It's on my phone.
Oh, okay. If it's on your phone,
meeting
you
settings.
might have to go to a gear or something. Yeah, it'll say share screen. And you should have permission because I already allowed that.
Oh, here we go. Screen. Can you see that or no?
I see an A, which is, it's just there's no,
Yeah,
I don't see it.
I'm scrolling. I think I got to click something in here. Zoom. There we go. You see now?
There we go. Hold on. It's coming up now.
Oh.
Okay.
All right.
I see your phone.
So pretty simple.
Okay. So I see a calculator now.
So yeah, it's just, I'm trying to think of when I originally came up with this. Let's just see how close I am currently. So current expenses I have pretty pegged down. Oh, what just happened?
It got out of there.
It did. Why did it get out of there? Can you see it now? Oh, I know what happened. Hold on. Or did I lose you altogether? Or are you still there?
I can hear you, but I can't see your screen anymore.
I can't even see the app anymore. What just happened? Meeting. I'm in the meet and chat. Give me a sec. Oh, back to me. There we go.
I see you now.
Share screen. There we go. All right, we're back here.
Okay.
Let me move this little guy out of the way.
That's the problem. Okay.
Yeah. So this number here, I can't remember if it includes payroll or not. Definitely, yeah, it has to include payroll. So payroll, shop supplies, shop rent, electricity, et cetera, et cetera. Trying to remember. I'm pretty sure my payroll and my bills are in this number as well. So with that, it boils down to, so that's in a month. So 18,000 in expenses a month. So this takes it to a week. And then from here, how many, so how many hours in a week do you want to work? Obviously.
I see.
Obviously
Wait, so
40.
sorry, where's the 45 again? 45
So
comes from,
that's total expenses divided down to a week.
okay, got
So
it.
4,500.
That's how much it costs to run your shop weekly,
Correct. But that
just
number,
to break even.
yeah, that's a break even. No money for groceries kind of thing right there.
You're sleeping in your shop and eating at Burger King.
And I remember when I originally did this, I put in an extra employee. I think when I originally came up with this formula and that 18,000 number, gosh, I'm trying to remember. It's so long ago.
So this 40 hours a week is the
40 hours a week. That's how.
Is the shop's hours, or are you accounting that as one employee?
How many hours? Oh, that's loud. How many hours do I actually want to put in is kind of how I did that.
Okay. Okay, so that's the out. So then you get the 112.
Yeah, no, that's off. Okay, so I think let's try this again. Let me pull up a quick P&L.
No worries.
Report. See, I give office responsibilities to someone else, and I completely forget how to use things. Oh, what's going on here? Oh, what button did I push to do all that mess?
Acres here. Acres.
Yeah, what's going on? Now this guy is next to where I need to hit again. There we go.
Oh, you have a fat finger challenge.
Yeah. So here we go. All right, we'll just do this. And I think last year, just to throw everything out there, I paid myself $50,000 for the year.
Okay.
So I mean, technically, that was total expenses for the year. So yeah, powder was like 32 grand for the year.
Sounds about right.
That's between Cardinal and Cerakote and Prismatic. I pretty much don't order from anyone else. I order like 5 pounds a year from Powder by the Pound.
Okay.
But okay, so 2 employees plus myself plus all shop expenses
Is 180.
Yeah, the only thing I know for a fact's not in here because I told my accountant to fix it. I did not have equipment depreciated properly in QuickBooks.
Yeah, but that's something that happens on the tax side, and I'm not too concerned about that. This is the practicality
This
side.
is like hard, insurance,
Right.
food,
Yeah.
My Spotify subscription, all the good stuff.
All the stuff that the reason why you're in business is so you can have your Spotify and listen to the Powder Coder podcast every Wednesday.
Right.
And write it off.
See, this still doesn't look right. So now it's telling me 15,000 when I know for a fact last December was definitely 18,000 in the expenses. But
you were dividing that by what, months?
12. Yeah, so that's 12 months right there.
And that's how you were getting that 4,500, but they would have to be.
Yep. So then take it back down to a week, which that
right.
again.
But that's, we're just doing a sample there. So that's pretty close to your 45.
I feel like payroll's not in this. I need to look into that. But so anyways, this is the gist. So then you break it down to how many hours, you want to work a week.
Right.
I think I did stop here. Yeah. So that's your break even hourly rate. So
Okay.
yeah, before when I
That's
initially,
fair. That's a total fair rate.
yeah. And again, I haven't done this since.
Yeah, I know. And I
4
was
years.
doing that stuff too. And I'll tell you, if you're not doing it every day, and you're only doing it every quarter or even once a month,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you have to like reprogram your brain and refamiliarize yourself with those formulas, because it's not something you want to hang in there all the time.
Right. Yeah.
You want to forget about it.
I remember when I did this formula 4 years ago, initially, when I moved locations to my like fifth location, it came out to like $56 an hour. And I was like, man, that just seems way too cheap. Because again, and on the automotive side, I was charging $110 an hour.
Right.
Now, granted, our parts bill at an automotive shop is 30 to 40 grand a month, because it's car parts, not pennies on the dollar powder.
Yeah, well,
so
remember, that's your break even, that 93.75.
Yeah, exactly.
That's hypothetically, right? So
yeah,
I mean,
exactly. So what I did,
you need to actually charge more.
Yeah.
Because
so
the profit
what
is your
scared
profit.
me, it was like $56 an hour back then. So let's call it, we're looking at this right now. So $93 an hour. I'm like, that it's 2021 now. That is not enough for hourly labor rate.
Yeah.
So what I did back then, it was 100. I just bumped it up. I'm like, let's go crazy, 160 an hour for powder, and then I did 300 for Cerakote. So basically, again, 160 an hour divided by 60. So basically, $2 round up to 70 cents. So $2.70 per minute gross is what the goal was back then to hit. So now basically what I did, every time a job would come in,
and what was the 60 again? I forgot. What's the 60 again?
The 60.
You went 160 divided by 60.
Oh, divided by an hour, 1 hour.
Oh, so and 1 hour, 60 minutes. Okay.
Yeah. So I broke it down to like a full minute.
That's cool. I like that. I haven't seen that.
And like again,
we've done that in our blast booth.
A lot of my jobs are the same stuff over and over again. So basically, from the time anyone grabs a form, if it's a new part that we've never done before, you got to run a stopwatch. Like the second you look at the form, a stopwatch is going, just counting minutes up. So the guy prepping it takes the job, he just blasts it as normal, walking around, I always tell them, like, if you're going to the bathroom, make sure you stop the clock. If you go take a break, like stop the clock. Don't be a jerk. Like, let's not price us way out. And then, when they're done with the paper, they stop the clock. They write on there, hey, this took me 20 minutes to sandblast. Then the coder gets it. When the coder gets the paper, same thing. Run the stop clock. You code it. There's a few variables. So, just handling, hanging, the clock's running, coding, clock's running. It goes into the oven. Unless you're still doing the job, like if it's multiple batches, the clock stops, because that's the electricity for the oven is an expense factored into the labor rate. We don't need to bill them for oven time unless it's a 45-pound weight or a boat anchor.
Oh, yeah, because it needs extra time in the oven, heavy. Right? We won't even attempt that kind of stuff. Yeah.
I did some lift blocks today that took an hour to cure. I pulled the batch out because everything else on the rack was cure, and I grabbed those two parts, put them on the next one going in. So that's the only thing I keep an eye out for. And I tell Matt, who runs the front, if it's over 30 pounds, just add a good, 20 to $50, depending on, I've done a fire hydrant before, and I think originally, it's not that big. So it'll be fine, $100.
Right.
And yeah, it was terrible to handle in and out of the strip tank because I don't have a basket on a winch. Blasting it was brutal. And then curing was a good 55 minutes by itself. I also here, I do not spray on my racks typically, unless it's something like that where I can't grab it and then put it on a rack after it's coated. So yeah, that's about the only thing I'll charge extra for is like if it's just really heavy and it's it's going to kind of hold up the line, because pretty much I have it dialed in to there's a batch coming out of the oven and another one ready to go in every 20 to 25 minutes.
That's the other,
kind of like clockwork.
Right. Back when we were a little busier and stuff, we were, the downtime was used to prep the next job, but then at a certain level, you run out of racks, right?
Oh yeah.
You could do it all day long, but then you've got a whole shop full of empty racks or racks you're trying to take apart, put new parts on. It's just, that gets a little complicated. But the way that you showed us just now, I've actually done that for our blasting, sandblasting. If I could just separate that out as a service. I have basically brought it down to about $3.33 a minute, which technically is $200 an hour and stuff. In the past, when we've set up hourly pricing on taping, if we don't do this all the time, but if for some reason, like you're saying, like something needs an extra taping or extra hanging time, these custom coders out here have to understand that you may have to come up with multiple systems, multiple processes on pricing. Yeah. Because if you were just to stick to one standard model, guaranteed you're losing money.
Yes, for sure.
And this was the argument, or rather his pissed offness last night, and then him, just the whole dynamic in the car was just like, it was supposed to be a joyful ride home. Right. And, it just ended up being like, I'm going to go to the store and get some beer, honey, kind of thing. And, I swear to God, that's what took me so long to sleep last night, because I was like literally trying to solve this problem. And that's what we're coming to actually talk about today. Yeah. And that is, there isn't one you have, if you're a successful custom coder at this moment, I'm not going to say I'm always going to agree to this, but at this very moment, I am thinking you need to have multiple pricing formulas just to stay ahead of your own, to stay out of the way of your own tripping up and falling down and stuff. And I think I had something in my mind last night, and that was, if you have a grade C or a grade D rust, then that's where it diverges into another price, a branch off the price. That's the other thing tree.
I've always kind of wanted to do. I have a couple things in the front room I'll show you that I like to show customers, but like we're very upfront here about hey, if it's pitted metal, it's not going to look great. You probably definitely don't want to do gloss black, but we'll do it if you want.
Right.
And unfortunately, we can't give you an exact price because of the reasons you're saying. Like, and most of them are cool as long as you're upfront with them. It's the problem around here, especially, is like people take it in because I have. Let me switch my camera around. So price list of. I don't know how clear you can see that. If it's
pretty clear. Yeah.
So
you've got your own kind of preset price list.
Yeah. So I run QuickBooks Online. And again, so like we'll do like that 12-inch Empire can. It's basically $9 a piece is what we charge them.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, with the formula, you do 9 divided by $2.70 each. So we got like 3.5 minutes into each can as far as sandblasting, hanging, and coating.
Mm-hmm.
But this way too, like, you know, if there's bumpers in here, so we got batch. So when people just bring a bunch of random stuff, like I'm not going to.
Yeah, we just do batch pricing too.
Yeah, just batch. We still run the timer, and whatever the timer ends at, we just batch, put price in, and hey, guess what? We didn't lose money. as long as, you know, there's always those rare moments where someone forgets to write down how long they blasted it, and then you know, luckily there's cameras, so you can kind of gauge when they started, when they stopped, loosely. Worst case. I'm trying to find something here. And all like these hyphenated ones, like these are companies that just keep coming over and over. So like, again, this crash bar for Dean Speed is going to be different than a crash bar from FXR division. Handlebars are different, you know, just smart. Size, because you know, again, size, style, et cetera, you know, there's T-bars for motorcycles, there's those big ape hangers. Yeah. So if you just had a handlebar in here for, you know, $20 or whatever, $11, like you're not, it's just not going to work because one's not the same as the other. No parts are really the same, especially one customer to the next.
So it's like we started off with like wanting to talk about like processes, workflow processes and how it leads to cash flow, but really it's more about
expenses
the expenses, but like I was going to say, like customer you know,
knowledge,
clarifying customers, I guess, or
I definitely want like a wall, like customer knowledge base, like, hey, if your fencing has holes in it, it's still going to rust from the inside out. That's a good one. People get so crazy when they're like, yeah, what's your warranty on it? I'm like, well, there isn't one. Why? Because it's hollow. There's holes everywhere. It's going to, I can't get inside. Like, sorry, not sorry.
But
so here's another thing. So like the form, and these are probably
you have a form too. Okay. Let's see your form.
So these are probably a lot of bad examples because these are every day. Like this guy comes 3 times a day. So we just get the basic, like, okay, they're 12-inch cans. There's 5 of them. They're going yellow. And then we always take pictures of the items.
Yes. Oh God, again, so important before, during, and after.
My guy gets complacent. So like this, for example, nothing on there. So like there's little dots. Those are like things that need to be masked off. Let's see if I can find a better one. And then also this is you know, expedite job.
Right. So you're charging more.
I think he needs it by Friday, so we just charge 50% extra.
Yeah, smart.
This is a blank PO anyway, so we just again, however long it takes, we'll do that normal time and then add another 50%.
And I can see, you know, Paul, I can see how this is helping you because you are in such a, you know, part of the reason why we wanted to talk today was that you're in such a competitive region or area or city. And yet you are doing it well, you're succeeding, you're beating out the competitors, low pricing or differential because they're just charging these cheap prices and trying to turn it around quickly.
Yeah.
And here you are, you're a success story in the sense that you've got multiple jobs coming in and able to complete jobs on time and charge what you need to charge.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and that's what's crazy is, you know, what I'll get a lot is that's a pretty decent one, you know, like the backs of those get masked off, the threads on that get masked off, et cetera, et cetera. again, I have one guy's been here 2 years. Another guy's been here, I think, just over a year now, or a year next month. And then new guy started February, but he's been at a competitor's powder coating shop literally around the corner. We could walk there in 5 minutes right now. But so he knows what's going on, but I like to just, hey, if there's a picture and it's in writing as well, there should be pretty minimal room for error.
Yeah.
But then like people are like, I could never make money doing that for, like those cam covers. I think we charge like $7 a piece, but guess what? That's what it came out when we timed it. And then that brings us to, efficiency has a big play on pricing as well. So obviously if you're not efficient, so the company that customer came from originally, everything's gloss black. It's all Harley parts. They would coat them, or they would preheat them. Let me think about this. No, they would coat them first, put them in the oven, pull them out after, 10 minutes or so, hit them with a second coat, put them back in, full cure, pull them out. Then they had a full like buffing station. Like they would sit there, wet sand and buff to make sure like they came out, gloss black, Harley, perfect. And it just blew my mind. Like to me, there's so much time wasted. Because again, here we sandblast it with raw media. Nothing that's painted or greasy or anything goes in our blast cabinet at all. Only raw metal. The most we'll do is flash rust after we strip something. Steel will get flash rust. But yeah, it's like if it needs stripped, we chem strip it. If it's hollow, I'll outgas it. If it's not, if there's no like seams or joints, it'll go straight to blast. It gets blasted. It gets put on a shelf. Whoever's coating will grab it, blow it off with air, coat it cold, put it in the oven. And we really, like, I've never had the issues that other people have.
You're not doing the hot. Are you doing
no
hot
preheating?
No,
outgassing,
yeah. You're not doing all the tricks and tips kind of stuff.
So if you want, we can take a walk.
Yeah, let's do it.
So
and
again, everyone.
I think what you were getting at earlier is something that I was trying to work on called a contribution margin. And you were breaking it down by the minute. I was working at it from another angle back in 2018 and 19 when we were, hiring new employees and stuff like that. And maybe we can get back to that. I wasn't planning on showing it, but I can. But knowing your contribution margin is really vital to your business, especially when you get to be as busy as you are.
Yeah.
So Sure. So what are we looking at here?
So this is our schedule. Everything that's on this board needs to be done that day, and preferably no later.
Right.
Anything in black writing is a public. Anything in purple, we either have a contract or a verbal agreement that, hey, you get a guaranteed week turnaround. Yeah. Anything in red is an expedite.
Okay.
Whether it's next day, 3 day, like this one here was a next day. The Gremlin garage one, I'm pretty sure was a week. So let's see, where are we at? We're on the 16th. So the public is, I only do 2 public jobs a day.
Okay.
Because some of these get to be thousands of parts and trying to squeeze those, whatever they got going on there. Trying to squeeze that in the middle of just knocking stuff out gets pretty hard sometimes.
What's the number? What's the number after that name?
Those are invoice numbers just because, as you can see, like this guy came twice today and dropped off 2 different times. 2
different jobs. Okay.
He's there. He's also there and he's there. It's just really hard to, like, I try to make sure, like, we all like to cherry pick our jobs. There's definitely jobs that we don't like to do. So the way I eliminated that is from here on out, in order received is how it leaves. Like there's no shortcutting unless you're going to pay extra.
Right.
That kind of thing.
First in, first out.
Yeah. And it really, really has helped. And the papers have as well. Cause again, like the first 6 years, I would just shoot from the hip. I would do whatever. Everything was in my head. Nothing was written down. It was terrible. I can't believe I never lost any parts.
Yeah.
Here's,
so
if you want to call
we're in your showroom now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's a this nice melted wheel here.
Wow, that's cool looking.
So I like to tell people that there's a possibility that this can happen to any part you give me.
That's a really good one.
Because I've had it happen to where, someone will give you, some plastic today is like brushed aluminum.
Yeah.
Or even die cast. So die cast is a good one, especially with Harley parts. If you forget, 400 for 10 minutes and you actually go 400 for 20 minutes, that die cast will melt.
Gosh, I know.
Obviously, good old chrome. Everybody loves chrome.
Oh, yeah.
This primary was like perfect before, and the heat from the oven kept making the chrome bubble. So that was a great example. That's a chrome warning. Like, hey, if you get a part back and there's one little lift like bump, it's not the powder. It is your chrome. We do not warranty that. Is what it is. And then like the things we did at Cerakote training was pretty fun. Couple like just random.
Most guys want to show people all the cool stuff they can do, not all the bad stuff that can happen.
Yeah, no, I would love to have
that point of view.
I would love to have a wall of just like this. This is why things don't work. And now here's a really handy thing. Every time this door's shut, it locks. So it keeps people from going into the back of the shop and bothering you.
Yeah.
So I make sure that door's shut at all times. And again, when I made the transition from like owner to, I don't really want to deal with people anymore. I want to stay in the back. The people who are used to dealing with me, they always want to talk to the owner.
Yeah.
So that keeps that from happening. Matt can just say, I'm not here, and nobody knows because I rarely ever go out that door.
Oh, I lie all the time. Oh, he's busy. He's in the shop. He's powder coating. Can't interrupt. Yeah. Most of the time it's just people wanting to give us capital loans or something. I'm like, sorry. Yeah. Government beat you to it.
Right. So the pallet rack we're looking at right now is just overflow. It could be going in or out. This is all just ready to be blasted. There's stuff down here that was in the strip tank, obviously, nice flash rust. So that right there is about the dirtiest that goes into the blast cabinet.
Right.
To the right, there's another overflow, either intake or out. Just parts. And I have a wheel rack for wheels.
Oh, that's nice.
So the Sandblast Station is here. So basically, he also has everything on this rack is to be blasted. So I left this empty today. So normally we would either move from those two shelves over there, or there's some rolling carts on the other side of the shop that, people came the last 3 minutes of the day and dropped off. So basically those would go on this shelf. So this shelf, at least the two should get emptied every day. And then basically after he's blasted, so, he's blasting right here. So he's pulling things from here. They're going in here. And then you turn around and you just put it right there. So it's really close. Your employees aren't wandering around all over the shop, wasting time, getting distracted. Yeah. So I literally, I enclosed it for a reason. Like, you don't want to be too far from what you're working on. That's just wasting time.
How big is your shop, Paul?
So I have two 2,000 square foot units.
Okay.
So this is the powder side only.
Okay. So yeah, you gotta, yeah. Okay.
And then the other side's for Cerakote and overflow and stripping.
Yeah.
So basically tomorrow, I kind
They'll
of
take those pieces and start powder coating.
just grab these, start powdering. We already typically, so we close at 3 p.m. on the dot, no ifs, ands, or buts. Usually I'd go and tap people on the shoulder like, hey, 10-minute warning, or, the coder, hey, this is your last batch. After this, don't put anything else in the oven, kind of thing.
Right.
3 o'clock, we're gone. But typically around 1 o'clock, whoever's coding will stop coding and, basically QC whatever they did for the day, put it away, and then start hanging for the, get a little head start for the next day like this.
Right. Yeah.
It's a, couple hundred little spacers.
Yeah.
But yeah, then aside from that, we'll knock these out first in the morning and then just start grabbing from the shelf, and then each station has a folder. So this is to be coded. This is done, what was done today. And then same with the blast. The blast has to be blasted and then what they did.
Okay.
And what I do before the end of every day is I'll grab what they did and just double check it. Like, hey, you forgot, if something happened, hey, you forgot to do these 10 pieces because they were in the chem tank or something like that. Just to kind of stay on top of it, keep all the jobs together. Because obviously you don't want to lose anybody's pieces either.
Right. I think when you're doing that level of parts, Paul, it's really, it can get away from you pretty quickly.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Not organized.
So typically, like whoever's coding, so whenever we line stuff up on a rack like this, we'll just basically grab from this rack here, put it in the booth, and then there'll be another rack like right here or right behind us.
Yeah.
And hang on it. You can't really see it, but there's a line across the back of the spray booth.
Okay.
So I'll just hang parts all in that back line and then pull them forward one at a time to do whatever. And then after they go in the oven, we just kind of line them up here.
Yeah. So they're getting ready to go into the batch. Okay.
Yeah. Today was a weird.
How many racks do you have there?
1, 2, 3. There's 9, 10 on this side. And today was a weird day. Like all these racks right here were all 2-stage. So and they're heavy. These things are like 80 pounds a piece. And then, these were the lift blocks I was talking about earlier. Illusion. Obviously they didn't look the same as those did when I first pulled them out of the oven. So now over to the Cerakote side. So typically same, kind of like what you see here is the same thing I'll do with the powder. I'll put all the sandblasted parts on a cart, just right there. And we'll put hooks on the cart and just start grabbing and going. And then this side has 6 racks on this side. And then typically, depending on, all those exhaust pipes earlier were on this shelf. So this is like the to be Cerakoted shelf. And
then, so you're doing you're not doing the cold or the dry coat Cerakote. You're actually doing the bake on one, right?
No, this is all C series.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
All the air cure. Yeah. So all this whole mess right here gets glacier black.
Right. Okay.
And then,
now just to back up a little bit, because those, your hourly rate, is it different for Cerakote, or are you trying to keep it all the same?
Yeah, no. So, so that's where it got
a little hairy.
A little hairy. Obviously Cerakote is expensive.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, it might take us, it takes me, I don't know, did you watch any of the YouTube videos?
No, not yet. No.
So if you watch, I'd be curious to know, because Ross Cerakotes too. I've been doing this 13, 14 years. I've been doing the same parts for 13, 14 years. So I'm really fast at it. So when I first started auditing the Cerakote, I only had like 2 really good customers. And I'm like, man, this turbo manifold, even though we were charging like 75 per manifold for it, it only took me 8 to 9 minutes to sandblast and coat it, start to finish. I'm like at 160 an hour, like that's nothing. So I kind of just kept messing with the hour labor rate until I was close to where everyone else was. So Cerakote's definitely more profitable than powder here at this point.
Yeah.
Because again, like efficiency.
Why do you think there's so many painters for cars and trucks and bikes?
Yeah.
And stuff?
For sure.
Because you can, that's why they don't like the powder coaters. They think we're a joke or something.
Yeah. It's funny. I have 2 customers that have really good paint shops, and they actually use me for a lot of things because they're like, it's cheaper than paint and your quality's there. So
yeah,
because it's really hard too to, like, I've never known a painter to powder coat anything of their own because they can paint. So why wouldn't they just paint it?
Right.
But I have a few that are like open-minded and they're like, yeah, it's better than me painting it, and it's cheaper to pay you than me spend money on supplies and paint it myself. And then so on the other side of the Cerakote, this just came in today as chemical, the devil juice.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
Yeah, this shelf here is just for we use a courier service. So whenever certain parts get done, they'll just get put on the shelf. Courier will come grab them and take them elsewhere. But like typically, so these came in like the last 5 minutes of the day. So typically those will go back over on the Sandblast shelf.
So do you package everything for the courier?
Not really.
How do you know that? I mean, have you ever had issues with scratching?
Only when he got rear-ended once.
Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty good. I mean, is he going very far? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he's going about 50 on average. Like our main customer that we use them for is probably 20, 30 miles away, I would think. But no, basically what I did, so everything will just get wrapped in cellophane. And then I bought probably like 20 Harbor Freight moving blankets. Yeah. And I was just like, here, keep these in your van for, whatever.
Yeah,
like,
that's smart. Yeah.
Because he used to have some, but they all got trashed and torn up. So I just, whatever, they're $4.99 a piece. So we'll just and he has like a rubber floor and they're just cargo vans, like E350s or E250s. And he just really good. Literally, other than the one time he got rear-ended, he was stopped on the freeway. Guy came up behind him, and even then it wasn't too bad. Yeah. But you guys are looking. Never had an issue.
If you're looking for, I have a Ram tradesman. They don't make them anymore, but basically, if you can imagine a Dodge Caravan with no seats in the back, it just has a steel plate instead of seats. That's basically what my minivan looks like. And getting flooring for that is really expensive. So I went to Amazon, and when you buy like a exercise bike or a treadmill, they have these. You can buy these mats, these gym mats, and I found one that, because if you were just to search for automotive floor mats, they would charge you outrageous prices, right? Because it's specifically designed for your car or whatever. I found a gym mat with that I want to say it's about 5/8 thick matting, black matting, and it's the kind of stuff you see at the gym. And I got it for like $50. Shipped to Amazon. and it's worked out great. Doesn't tear. It keeps everything from moving because it's just. So if you're looking for a mat to do delivery and stuff, try looking at gym floor mats for like, at home or whatever, where people can just put their bike on top of it, and they, it's the same material. It's just cheaper because it's for a different purpose. It's so funny. It's like razors, men's razors versus ladies' razors. They charge us ladies like 3 times as much as guys, right?
Right.
If you've ever noticed that. We usually wrap our stuff in the PE foam. I don't know if it's a good thing. It certainly adds to the expense. Yeah. For sure, because it's not cheap stuff. And it comes on a roll anywhere from 12 to 24 inches wide. So we've used that plus the moving blankets for sure. But usually the welders, they never have blankets and stuff. So
we have
that's the stuff we use. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a customer. I've always heard it's expensive, but probably every other week or so we'll get a pallet of it.
Oh, that's nice. So you get to reuse it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. He just gives it to us. So they actually use a line powder coater, which is a whole nother realm of cheap. So parts, with my hourly labor rate, a part I'm at $1.50 for it, and that's kind of like on the lower end of the labor rate. They can get it done on a line for 70 cents.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, yep, nope. Then, and again, it's funny when people are like, well, can you just match their price? And I'm like, no, man, it's not in my best interest to match their price if I'm not going to make money.
Right. You're not a line coder. Go to a line coder. Yeah.
So I actually
that was an interesting tour. I enjoyed that tour and got to see some insights there.
Yeah. I just realized how late it was.
It is. Well, it's only 2:17 here.
Yeah.
But
can I make a quick call and jump back on this?
Yeah. In fact, I'll just I'll switch over to sharing my screen and I'll share the contribution margin. If I can remember, I've got it all listed here.
Yeah.
On how you would do that. So yeah.
All right. Let me jump off. I just realized I'm like, man, one kid's got volleyball practice.
Okay, so if everybody can see my screen, I've got what I've created here at contribution margin. And this was 2018, so it's kind of old, but we had actually made about $168,000 in, so it's like I think it was like our second year of getting serious about taking our side business and growing it. And you need to know your variable costs. It's important to know what your total sales are. Oh no, this is what we ended up with in 2017. So I had started, this was last year. So it was the year before. It went 2017, we made 168. Then in 2018, we kind of doubled that. But the variable costs and the fixed costs, go and Google how to go about doing that. A little bit of a workaround in terms of formulas. You do need to know some things. I'll try to, this is just to show for purposes that you guys are, I'll do another show where I can show you that kind of stuff. But this is just for all intents and purposes, just to show you. So there's 1, 2, 5 steps in this. And if you need to go, Paul, you can go ahead and just log off and then come back on again if you need a call.
Okay. Yeah. Let me call the missus before I get hung.
I think you have to just end the session and then hop back on the same link, and I'll let you in again. But step one is of the contribution margin is to express it utilizing these things, the variable cost, the fixed costs, and the total sales of the year, is to express it as a percentage. That's what you're after. So, and the reason why you want to do a contribution margin, whereas earlier we were talking about the minute price, it's just a different way to calculate. If you're trying to project sales, the contribution margin would help you be able to project sales. For instance, if you were thinking about hiring an employee, that would help you, but it also is going to cost you, right? It's going to cost you in labor, hiring someone. And if you want to see how much more you would have to bring in sales to afford that employee, then you would use the contribution margin. So I have an example of that below. But before you can do that, you have to get the contribution margin. You have to express it as a percentage, and then you have to find out what your break even is. So in this example here, I have taken the variable costs. This was year end. This was mid-year, I believe, or the year before, actually. This was 2017's numbers, and this was 2018's final numbers. And we came up with, you just divided the variable cost by the sales, and we came up with a 19%. So you have to subtract that by 100%, and we came up with 81%. 81%, yeah, is the contribution margin. So it's just a simple formula, and then from here you go to step 2, which is taking that percentage and expressing it as an amount, and that's how you get the break even of your business. So the dollar sign over here is representing what the answer is to that question, the break even. So you take your fixed costs, which for us was $259,000, and then you times that by the contribution margin, which was 81%. And then you do this next step, which is 3, and you want to use the contribution margin expressed as it relates to sales. So you take that 210,000, which was our break even. Variable costs were 60,898 for 2018, and the sales contribution, you subtract that, and that's what you get your sales contribution to. So how this is leading to sales contribution is that percentage as a monetary price, right? And with that is that's how much more in sales we derive from the break even. So this is basically technically your margin. And then step 4, we take those fixed costs and we subtract the sales contribution, and you get the sales needed to compare it for that new hire. So it just depends on what that new hire is. If it's an office person, you're planning on charging, giving them, an hourly wage. So we calculated that the new hire was going to cost $38,000. Of course, that includes payroll taxes, et cetera, right?
I wish it was that cheap in Arizona.
I know, right? And I'm not sure if I'm making sense, Paul. Step in if you can, if you have a question about this. But this is how I was taught.
Makes sense.
And then it's a little, obviously your method is so much simpler and easier to use, but you probably had to do a lot of more of the back end stuff before you got to that.
Yeah, exactly. You know, again, the advantage I had is one, it was pretty close to a formula we use for automotive stuff. And two, I'd already been up and going for a while, so I've had a good pulse on what my expenses were. But at the same time, so I think I just trying to think back, like the first time I did it and my break even was like 56 an hour. And again, I think that was one employee and me paying myself like 50,000 a year or something. And I was like, man, that's not enough. And I did, you know, I audited a couple of jobs and I was like, you know, like I'm just gonna swing for the fences. And I think I pulled like 160 out of my hat. I'm like, well, we'll just go with 160 an hour. I'm gonna bill people at that, see where everything ends. And no one complained. And I was making decent money and I was able to put a lot of money away for a down payment on a building and stuff.
Yeah. And that's why you want to use this system, because when you're ready, say you do want to go get a new employee or buy a building, this is the kind of stuff you need in order to get yourself there, right?
Yeah,
how much more in sales? So that's where we're going, is like we're trying to answer the question of how much more in sales do we need to derive in order to cover the cost of that new employee, plus, you know, in sales, because you're going to need to make more than 38, of course, you know, 38,400. So how much more in sales? And this is not even getting to like the output part, which you were talking about by walking through your shop, you know, is keeping those guys busy, and, you know, and then yet
and keeping them confined.
Well, like and I noticed that your offices or your warehouses were divinely defined, because they were two different spaces with a opening in the middle. To get to the other side, you know.
And those doors are closed all day. It's like, you know, if you're Cerakoting, you stay over there. You don't need to go. You don't need to come over here for anything. Like these guys on gloves. Anything that has to do with paint is on that side of the shop. The only other thing I didn't show, so right next to the spray booth, I have all the common powder that we use. Lost me. So all the common powder, I have 100 pounds on hand of each color right there next to the booth. So again, they're not wondering. The only thing that is on the other side of the shop is a powder room with all that powder. I don't need them going back and forth, wasting literally an hour a day just going back and forth to getting powder. So all the normal, all the blacks basically, and one box of gloss white is right next to the spray booth. So you only have to go 6 feet. Right.
Yeah, I found this helpful. It was a little arduous, and it took a lot of time to get to, you know, it took a lot of time. And I was actually using a book. I had taken a night class or something, and even when I asked them about fixed costs or variable costs and what they were and what should be included for powder coating, I mean, they couldn't even answer me. So, you know, just know when people talk these big talks, you know, like your accountant or your bookkeeper talks about these big words, you know, they don't really know.
Right.
Bookkeeping is not as, you know, there's parts of bookkeeping that are very accurate, and then there's other parts that are very interpretive. And I always thought of it just being one way. So just know that just because, you know, you don't have to know the answers to all of these things that we're talking about. Again, this powder is just kind of just trying to get you to be aware of it, so that you can consider it as either being important or not ready, or thinking about it in the future, or yes, I need this now. This is exactly what my problem is. How do I get more, kind of thing, you know? I think, you know, people are on the fence just even moving out of their garage, you know?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And stuff.
It's a big jump.
It is a big jump. And
a couple other things.
you're
never really
personally
touched on it.
responsible on the lease too, right?
Oh yeah,
Sale.
for
So
sure.
there's that that personal guarantee too, you know.
So how do you guys handle if something needs to be chemical stripped?
We use Benco. And
do you,
Ross has
like, according to the customer, do you charge just per part or kind of make that up?
We don't have a separate pricing for the stripper, like as a process or as a service.
That's one thing I started doing. So I have a minimum for chem strip is $45. So
Okay.
if you bring me one part, like almost everything here has a minimum.
Right, and I'm dying to get. God, yeah. You got to have a minimum.
Minimum for chem strips, $45, and then just depending on the part, it'll never be higher than 100. So basically, the way I kind of did it was, if you fill my tank up with a bunch of parts, I'm just going to charge you $100, which is extremely cheap for Phoenix. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm looking at this right now. So change this back around.
And so before you say that, before you reply, my question is just to kind of set up what we're talking about is, are you saying that you're getting calls from customers that just want you to strip parts? They don't want you to do anything else?
No, a few will for sure.
Okay.
But just as a, rule of thumb, like, every step of the way needs to be accounted for and charged.
True. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so this is February 1st to the 16th. Again, in QuickBooks, I just have it saved as ChemStrip A.
Okay.
And that's $1,015 in ChemStrip for 21 jobs.
Wow.
Just this month alone.
Okay.
So, and again, it's like, what are your other options? You want to pay me $160 an hour to blast it for twice as long, or do you want to just pay quick $45 and your job comes back better? One.
Right. Right.
And I've, for the longest time, I would just, I'm gonna add $20 here for that, $20 there. And then again, when I just made, minimum, which that went up recently too. It used to be a minimum of 30. And jokingly, I'm telling people like, it's probably going to go up because again, January, I was transferring out of the drum into the tank and the hose ruptured and sprayed all over me. And I had no PPE on at all of any way, shape or form. So I lost the ability to walk for 2 weeks. Had second-degree chemical burns, both legs, arms. So yeah, also wear your PPE, folks.
Yeah, wear that bib.
That stuff is not to be messed with. Luckily, it wasn't B17. I'd probably be dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used 1010P.
Okay.
I get it 3 days after I order it. It works pretty quick. It doesn't eat aluminum. It'll destroy magnesium. And that's from Chemisphere. And it's just water neutralizes it. You don't need any kind of special blend.
Right.
It's the safest, least smelling stuff I could find.
Okay.
But still very dangerous.
Chemisphere.
Chemisphere. Yeah. And it's 1010P. It's pretty close to, they make a one that's close to B17 too, that's cheaper, but.
Well, send me a link on that and I'll include it in the podcast.
And then the other, so Expedite Fees, obviously I charge that.
Yeah, what are you charging for that?
So again, normal price. If you want it same day, it's 500% more. So it'll be, same price times 5.
Okay.
There's your price. If you want it next day, it's 300%.
Okay.
And then typically we do 3 or 4 days for 50% more.
That's not bad.
And again, where are we at here? So this is, again, February 16th. Yeah, just this month alone, $708.50 in expedite fees.
That's awesome. I mean, what a way to really.
And again, I was that guy, you're my customer. I'm going to help you out and I'm going to stay late so my wife can yell at me for not being home with the kids and just so you get your part back tomorrow. And honestly,
I'm tired of that. I don't even have kids. My kids are grown up and I don't want that.
It was the wife that kind of started that. It was, and a very valid point. Like,
yay to those powder coating wives.
Yeah.
The reason for solutions in the powder coating industry, I swear. I'm going to have a wives only powder coater podcast.
Another fee I charge $20 to change colors. So
okay, yes. So in between,
again, tons of lost money there because I get a lot of customers are like, okay, we want this gloss black. These need to be satin and this silver. So I only charge.
That's a very overlooked one there. That's great.
Yeah, and I'm set up to change colors really quickly, but
doesn't matter.
I also, again, I go by the form. I don't cherry pick. So if the form has 3 colors on it, those 3 colors are getting done back to back to back. Even if the next job I'm going back to another color, everything just stays together. We, to my knowledge, have never lost a part. And yeah, I mean, again, I was missing money. That's $300 this month alone, and we're halfway through the month.
Awesome.
And color
That's
change.
awesome.
I'm trying
That's
to
a
think.
make it or break it for someone right there. That one tip.
Yeah. Top coats, we just do 50% over whatever,
We do 60 on. So what we do is majority of the times, because we're so close to the oceans.
Yeah.
We're pretty much just doing a 2-coat system all the time with a primer base, especially for architectural jobs. Not so much for aluminum rims and automotive parts, but mainly for like anything structural is getting more important. It's getting 2 coats, and we charge 60% for the primer coat. So we'll take the batch price times it by 60%. I am including the primer powder in that, and it's only because primer is so cheap. I don't mind including that to the 60%. So that's how we do that second coat, because you could, it doesn't matter if the primer coat comes first or not. I'm just saying the second coat should be 60%. At least for us it is. And you're saying it's 50% for you. But we're like, out of the 3 things we just talked about.
I like your number better. I think that's our next price increase right there.
There you go. Out of the 3 things, the rush rate, the change color rate, and the second coat rate, we're only doing 1 of the 3 things you're doing. And if we could implement those other 2, it would be a game changer for us.
And again, I personally like the idea of batching chemical strip, a minimum for it too, because that stuff's nasty. You're killing yourself every time you go over by it. Like, and then God forbid you get injured and have a bunch of medical bills from it. Got to be able to pay those somehow.
Jesus, I know.
The other thing I only recently switched QuickBooks Online. So there's a feature, you send the invoice. I have a 5-day grace period set up, and then it automatically tacks on 20% for a late charge.
Love you.
In the paperwork I have them sign, it says they need to pick it up within 3 business days.
Yeah.
But again, this year alone, and I only started enforcing it this year, $726 in late fees. Again, free money, because people like to, and again, it's almost always the public. So not only do they get hit with $150 minimum, but when, your parts sit on the shelf for a week and a half after they're done, and we've called you 3 times to come get them, you got an email. I can see that you looked at the email. Sorry, another 20%. And no one's complained. They're just like, sorry, we couldn't make it on time. Here's your money and have a nice day. And
because isn't it always about hurry up and wait? I mean,
exactly.
I'm tired of that, Okay, so tell me again, you're charging after, so you give them a 5-day grace period.
5-day grace period. Technically, the terms say 3-day.
Okay.
But I'm a nice guy, contrary to what some people think. And then it's just 20% of whatever the bill is.
Right. So you're encouraging them to pay it right away. And what if they don't pick it up right away, though? Do they pick it up, or you're hanging on to it?
Typically do. So again, my main customers are business. So the second I send an invoice, some are here within minutes. Like they're like, cool, I needed these, thanks, bye. And they just leave. And we have almost everyone, we have their card on file, because I got tired of,
that's what I want.
The guy who writes the checks isn't in today. Well,
tired of that.
Those awkward moments where you're like, well, you can't take your parts because you owe me for the last 3 batches.
Well, Ross gives them away anyways. He's like, I need to make room in the shop. So we're already off balance, right? Too.
But again, the remedy for that, let me just get your card on file. Then you can pay it whenever you want.
Yeah.
And again, everybody was like, oh, that's a great idea. Another funny thing, so I don't do net terms anymore, but net terms, it was a great one. When I got rid of that, it was the easiest thing, and I made more money. So someone calls you, give them a quote. Okay, that job's going to be $200. When they bring it, they're like, oh, well, we're net 30. Oh, okay, I didn't know that. Let me revise the quote. So I did for a while, if they were net 30, for every 7 days they wanted me to float the bill, I added 10%. So, okay, if you're net 30, now it's 40% more. Most people were fine with it, and I was extremely happy because now I'm getting, most people in general pay their bills until you get that one that stiffs you for 18 grand for 9 months. Then that one hurts, puts a bad taste in your mouth. So once a few people burn me, and it's always like the multi-million-dollar corporations that are worldwide. They're just like, whatever, you're a little guy, I don't care. But so what I started doing, same thing, we're net 30. Okay, here's your new price. Oh, why is it so much? Because I'm the bank now. I got to charge you interest. It's that simple. Tell you what you can do, though. You can put it on a credit card for the original price I quoted you. You could pay them in 30 days. And you wouldn't believe how many people are like, oh, I didn't even think about that. Let me call corporate and get you a card. And then you just keep it on file. And when it leaves, you charge it. And I think we have something like, if it declines, like it's a $30 fee or something like that, even though there really is no fee. Like that's just what we charge the customer for having to call them and say, hey, there's no money on there. But that rarely happens. Usually it's expired or something like that. And they're just like, here's your new card. Sorry that happened. Or give me 10 minutes, I got to make a payment.
I mean, that strategy isn't bad, but I can see now comparing it to the new strategy you have this year, that's a way better strategy.
Oh, and people are like, let me check with corporate. They call back, do you take Amex? Absolutely. Cool, here's the number. And that's that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Gosh, these are just, my mind is just like swimming around.
I pulled up my items list, and I'm like, we should probably cover some of these things.
Maybe,
Here's another good one, two-tone labor. So when anybody wants something two-tone,
I was going to ask you about that earlier.
Up front, I just tell them, it's going to be an open blank check. Like how much, wheels. And a lot of wheels I've done over and over again, I have a pretty good grasp. Like, hey, it's going to be $780 to get this done. But yeah, it's pretty much, I will only do two-tone on a weekend when I know I'm not going to get interrupted, and just sit in my chair in my spray booth and vacuum and wipe away. But again, the stopwatch is going the whole time, and wherever it ends that's how much it is. Take it or leave it kind of thing. And again, I haven't, either people will say, well, never mind, let's just do them black because they're scared, or if they're like, whatever, go ahead. I'll just ask again, like, is there a number you definitely don't want to go over? Because I don't want to spend 9 hours on these wheels, and hey, guess what? It's $3,000 for the set.
Right. Yeah, the two-tone for sure. And I know that people, I mean, there's guys out there that just eat that for lunch every day, but when you don't eat that for lunch every day, or doing an illusion
production scale too. There's jobs I have 3 colors. They're little tiny parts. I have some on my Instagram, but it's red, blue, and black. And I got, you do 100 of them, you get it down pretty quick. What works, what doesn't. I do a lot of 13 spoke Harley wheels. I got those down to, I have like special fittings and a choke valve on the vacuum. So I could just run the vacuum over and then just do a quick wipe. It's like, I think I got that down to like 12 minutes per wheel on both sides. So, but it's all practice and repetition.
Yeah, and I think these are all really good strategies because, every day you don't know what comes into your shop or what you'll be faced with next. And we all know that, like, getting it down pat is so key to doing it right or making money with it,
Exactly.
So I think that's a great way to end the podcast. I think this has been so informative. I've learned so many things here. It's unbelievable. I can't wait to listen again because I have a feeling this is just one of those podcasts that you're going to have to just listen to over and over again. And if you have a way to print out or send in an Excel document or something like that, your price list or whatever, I mean, feel free. I'm not putting you on any kind of choke chain there. Just if you have it, it's easy to put out or spit out of the computer.
I mean, we have it in Excel format because that's the easiest way to increase them. We just import everything to Excel.
Yeah,
go down the road, add 3%, go back through, round them up a little bit, and then that's it. There's our new price list.
Yeah, because I mean, this is seriously like one of the things that I've set out this year to fix in my QuickBooks. Of course, I use QuickBooks Desktop, but is really just to nail it down.
I used to hate online when we used it before, and right towards the end of the year when we were about to do taxes, we synced it up with Square and it doubled everything.
Oh no.
So then I was like, screw this. And then my accountant at the time scared me into, let's just say he was a great accountant. He's like, you don't want anything online because once it's online, it's always online. He's like, switch to desktop. Just basically so there's no record of certain things.
Right.
Don't want them on there, like estimates and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I'm suspicious. I don't want to go online.
Yeah.
It's not for me. But this has been awesome, and thank you again for coming out. If you guys have any comments or questions you want to ask, please do so in the comment section of either YouTube or the the platform, Podbean platform. Let us know how you feel about these tips that Paul's, shared with you, because I think they're certainly very innovative and workarounds that you've used just to solve your own problems, you know? And I think it's just great that you've, obviously you didn't have to share them, but you shared them here today. And we certainly as an industry appreciate you doing that. Nobody, a lot of times topics like this seem to be in the shadows or people don't want to share. So I appreciate your candor and your openness about it, and troubleshooting your own problems. Who knows how many you've helped today. So thank you, Paul. I appreciate it. And I know you got to get to your kids and your life and everything. So I'm going to end the podcast.
Hopefully, before you let me go, hopefully everybody listening and that's powder coating can get a labor rate established.
Yeah.
Stop trying to match the other guy. Do what works for you to make money.
Yeah, because we all pay different rates for leases and areas and shipping and powder and everything. We're all in different stages of our businesses. So I think it's great that you're at a level where you are starting to get control over those. And, obviously, if you just keep implementing these methods, I think you'll be able to, grow pretty even more than you have already. Sure. Yeah.
And it's definitely not flawless. Mistakes still happen, but they're very, very limited. And what's great is if you do have employees and there's a mistake made, like earlier, I showed a picture of one of the papers that said "Do not blast" in big black Sharpie letters on the front page. We had an incident last year when two of us went up to the Cerakote training.
Mm-hmm.
We had I think like a $4,800 Toyota Supra muffler in. We were only doing the tips. So on the paper, it said, "Do not blast." And the entire thing got blasted.
Oops.
Yeah. So then we had to sub out, get it polished again, coat the tips and all that stuff. But, it's.
Well, cut out. Yeah. Mistakes happen.
Yeah.
But you can recover them from them. But just repeating the same mistakes too is bad.
Yeah.
You want to just make that mistake once and learn your lesson.
At least there's accountability there, though. Like, hey, you messed up, and you shouldn't have been because this system's in place, and
right.
Hopefully they learn from their mistakes or whatnot. But
right. That's awesome. This has been a great podcast. Thank you so much, Paul.
Yeah, no problem.
avpcoatings.com. You can find him on Instagram and Facebook, and go check out his website and go stop by his shop. And I know there's lots of coaters in Arizona that listen to us. So go and meet Paul. He's a great guy. Talk to you later, Paul.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.